Hey there, tubers. I'm doing a video today comparing the difference between doing your initial engine oil change on a Bobcat 5000 series tractor at 50 hours versus 200 hours. Now, I've owned a 2021 and a 2022 Bobcat CT5555, and my 21, I originally followed the owner's manual, which calls out for the first oil change to be done at 200 hours. Now, I did a video at the 200-hour mark and showing the engine oil change, the hydraulic oil and filter changes, and everything that the manual shows that needs to be done at 200 hours. And got a lot of comments from other Bobcat owners, mainly the 1000 and 2000 series guys, saying that their manual said that you should be doing the initial engine oil change at 50 hours. Well, my manual has nothing of the sort in it. It shows the initial engine oil change at 200 hours, which I kind of found strange, because at 50 hours, it does say that you need to drain and change the filters on the hydraulic system. So they obviously feel that at 50 hours, the break-in on the hydrostat and hydraulic system is such that it needs to be changed at 50 hours, but they didn't feel the same on the engine oil. So I found that curious, but I ran mine out to the 200 hours originally and oil sampled it, and got the results back on that. And now on my 2022, I decided to just do the 50 hours on the initial oil and sample that and compare the two. So that's what today's video is going to be about. What I've got up on the screen now is the oil sample from my 2021 tractor. And this is the 200-hour initial oil change. And I run all my oil samples through Blackstone Labs. I sample every engine that I've got all the time. So I just picked them one day, and I've used them for years, and I've had no issues with them. I know there's a lot of companies out there that do this, so I'm not pushing you one way or the other. It's just whichever one you feel comfortable with. And I don't know how other guys do it, but Blackstone has a comment section where they basically give you a synopsis of what they think that your oil is like, what it's doing, things to be concerned about or not be concerned about. And then I always ask them if there's a chance for extended intervals on the oil changes, and they'll put that in the comment section too. So with this sample, it says the universal averages for this model engine are based on an oil run for roughly 310 hours. A lot of this copper is from wear-in and oxides, and that doesn't immediately suggest extra wear at the brass bronze parts like the bushings and bearings. The lead is a bit higher than we typically see from wear-in, but it too is likely from wear-in with tin, typically a coating or bronze alloy. Silicone is most likely harmless sealer and lube, and if the oil pressure is good, check back in 200 hours. Any wear-in metal should clear out rapidly. So they don't see a lot of concern there, and they're basically telling me to, run it another 200 hours, and we'll see what the sample there looks like. So, again, they're not overly concerned, kind of throwing this all towards just being break-in metals. But the copper, lead, and tin on this sample are off the charts high. And that's concerning to me. I don't know whether that is what a typical 200-hour break-in oil change would be, but it seems extremely high to me. And again, I don't know whether the metals that were in there from break-in, being in there for 200 hours, have contributed to elevated wear, or whether that's just kind of where you end up. I mean, if you've got any comments on that, I'd love to hear them. But the copper level is 514, and the universal average is 7. So that's 73 times higher than what it should be, which I can see it being a few times higher, but not that high. The lead is 10 times higher than average, and the tin is 37 times higher than average. So that seems extreme to me. Like the silicone is high, but like they said, I believe that's from gasket sealer and stuff on a new engine, so that should clear up pretty quick. Yeah, magnesium, phosphorus, zinc, and barium are all high, but that's all detergent additives that the oil would have in them. And I don't know what oil Bobcat throws in these things initially. I asked the dealership, and they just said, "Oh, I'm sure it's like just a 1030." I'm sure it's a Bobcat branded oil, but I don't know who makes it, and I'm not even sure that it's a 1030. But that's what the dealership had told me. But those being high, I think that's just from the type of oil that they put in it originally. But yeah, everything just seems to be extremely high on the important wear items, in my opinion. Okay, so now I'll throw up the 2022 50-hour oil sample. And again, in the comments there, they say this sample looks pretty standard for break-in oil, minus the fuel. That isn't necessarily fine. That's specific to break-in, but it's harmless when it reads at a low level like this, so it's nothing to worry about. The copper and silicone levels are fine too, even if they're higher than we might normally find from an engine like this. That's because there's extra metal and silicone-based sealer lubes in the oil right now from assembly. After the engine sees a few more oil changes, that should settle down to lower levels. This engine looks like it's starting off on the right foot. So they don't see anything at all abnormal in this sample. They didn't give me any insight onto how long I should run the next sample, but they do the hundreds or thousands of these a day, so they might have just forgot to put in what they thought the next interval should be. But I'm probably going to run this next one to 200 hours like the book actually says to do. I just wanted to get that initial break-in oil out of there, get any of the contaminants out of there, and hopefully with the new oil that I run, which is a synthetic, that the next sample should be substantially lower. So on this one, again, the copper, lead, and tin are higher, but not extremely higher. The copper level is 47, so it's roughly 7 times the average, not 73 times the average like the other one. Lead's not quite double the average, and 10 is right at double. So I feel a lot better about where this engine's at this point. One thing that was kind of interesting on this one is that the silicone is much higher than the 21 sample. And I guess that could just be the assembly process. They might have gotten a little more adhesive on the oil pan gasket or something, maybe got some inside the pan accidentally. So I'm not super concerned about that either. The sodium, yeah, I'm not sure. That could be maybe something from the coolant. I'm not sure. Both tractors seem to have used a little bit of antifreeze in the first couple hundred hours. Obviously, this one's only got 50 some hours on it, and it has used a little bit. So I don't know whether that's just getting all the air pockets out of the block, or whether it's actually got a seep somewhere. But I'll keep an eye on the sodium, see if that goes up or down on the next sample. And again, the magnesium, phosphorus, zinc, and barium are high. I'm just going to contribute that to the type of oil that they're throwing in this thing. Now, they did say that they found a little bit of fuel in the oil. It's well under what would be something that would alert them, but it's still there, so we'll see if it is there in the next one. Now I'll throw up a side-by-side here so that you can see the numbers comparatively between the two. One thing I did kind of find that was strange was the sample dates. I, for some reason, changed the oil on both of them on the exact same day, 1 year apart. Kind of weird. But yeah, you can see what the 200-hour versus the 50-hour. Big differences on the copper, lead, and tin. Really not much differences on the rest. So that kind of tells me that the 50-hour oil change should be done initially instead of waiting the 200 hours. But that's my opinion. I think the numbers kind of show that you probably should do it at 50 hours, but again, they weren't overly concerned on either one, so I really can't say for certain that what the best practice is. But I think if I buy any more tractors like this, that I will be doing it at 50 hours. Now, the copper, lead, and tin levels are basically your bearings, your crank cam and journal bearings, and so those are the main wear items and items that you should be concerned about. The rest, not so much, but I think the numbers speak for themselves, and I'm just kind of throwing this out here so help people to make a decision themselves. And any feedback is always welcome. And if you have any questions or comments or anything, just throw them below. Otherwise, I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.